Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Two Beards and a Board Game. Today we have Azul.
It's a game by Michael Keisling?
Keisling?
I don't know. Plays 2 to 4 players. It's 8+, and says takes 30 to 45 minutes, which seems pretty accurate.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Looks like it's also published by Next Move Games of some sort as well. Should have looked that up. Anyway, this is a abstract game.
Yes.
We haven't played a whole lot of abstract games, but we've actually, in the last few months, we've actually played a couple of them.
Yeah.
And they've been well received in our group.
Yes, yes. This is a tile drafting and laying game is what I would call it, probably. Yeah. The goal of the game is to fill up your pattern on your board. And I think unlike Sagrada, which feels very familiar but is different mechanics.
There's a few different mechanics, but the general idea is the same as Sagrada.
Right. I think everybody's board is the same on this one, right?
Correct.
And so your goal is to fill up your board and get as many connecting pieces on your board as you can while drafting tiles. Mm-hmm. So you draft a tile and you have to immediately play however many tiles you draft.
Right.
Right. So if there's going to be like little circles, I don't know if you can see those in the shot there, but there's little circles on the board. Each of them are going to have 4 tiles on it. Mm-hmm. And when you take a tile from it, you have to take all of the tile of that kind.
Right.
The rest of them go into the middle.
Go into the middle, correct. And with that in the middle, there's a one-player token where if you don't want to take from one of the circles, you can actually take from the middle instead.
Yes.
First person to take from the middle is going to go first next turn, but they lose a point once you get to the scoring phase.
Yes. And the 1 point lost never seems to be a huge deal. The thing that would suck is if you had the 1 point and then you end up taking extra tiles at the bottom.
Right, because you start out by only losing 1 point, and then 1 point, and then 2, 2, 2, and then 3, 3. So if you fill up your bottom track down here on the board, if I can pull it up, there's a bottom track down here. If you have extra tiles that won't, lay in here based on a 1 up to a 5 of the same tile all the way across, and you can't have the same color in 2 different rows. So it's a strategic game where you need to, where are you picking stuff, and one of these is just 1. So if I take the 1 red tile and put it up here at the top, I best not be trying to get any red tiles the rest of this drafting round because it's only going to be negative points.
Yes, if you get stuck with them at the end, because sometimes at the end of the round, there's going to be somebody that's going to have to take whatever's left over. And sometimes maybe it's only 1 tile, and so you only get hit with 1, but there have been times it was like 5 tiles that somebody got stuck with.
More often than not, we play nice and it works out. However, you could easily fill up your bottom based on the tiling. And the other interesting aspect that I like to this game, you can't count tiles, so to speak, until you're several turns in to figure out, because you may only take 1 tile from this round spot, but 3 from the next one. So trying to figure out how many turns are left, it's hard to do until there's only like 3 or 4 turns left.
Right. So you're going to just take turns drafting your tiles, and then they've got a nice little bag that holds all the tiles, and then once that round's over, you score what you currently have, and then you check to see if anybody is it a column or a row?
Once someone completes a row across.
That ends the game. Otherwise, if nobody has a full row of 5, then you go on to another round, you put more tiles down, you start drafting again.
Right.
You're going to put them in the empty spaces over here. At the end of the round, if you're full, so there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you have to have all of your tiles filled here to move them over into the space that you want them to go, and you only move 1 tile over at a time, even if you have 5.
So at the bottom row, it's a full 5 across.
But you're
only taking 1 tile and putting it on the board. So it takes a lot, especially this bottom row, to fill all 5 and to do it.
And it seems the best strategy is obviously to just try to connect as many tiles as you can, because if you get 1 tile by itself, it's worth 1 point, but if you get a tile next to another tile, then it's worth 2 points, 3 points, and so on. And if you end up making like T's or cross sections, then the row and the column count. So you can add up points real quick if you pay attention to what you're doing. And I feel like a lot like Sagrada, the very first game of this we played, we didn't know what we were doing. We knew how to play, but we didn't really have any idea what we were trying to accomplish. And so I think that was a really low scoring game. But the couple times we played since, now that we know what's going on, I think.
Right, and the last time we played, I specifically went in with the mentality, I'm going to connect as many columns going down in a row as I possibly can. So I was scoring 5 and 7 points later in the game, which is a ton, and then I still had 2 rows on the way down.
Yes.
So that's another 14 points. So it was just an explosion of points, and I won by like almost 40 that game or something
you won
like
by a ton that game.
Yeah.
And then it is worth noting that there's also some bonus points you score at the end of the game.
Right.
If you have a row, you get 2. If you have a column, you get 7. And if you cover an entire color or pattern, I guess, you get 10 points at the end of the game.
Right. So what that means is if you have that color in each row going down. Right. So if I've placed the red tile 5 times, all 5 spots for the red tile has been covered. Right. You get 10 points. We haven't had anybody
it's hard to do.
Yeah, it is pretty difficult to do. I've been close on a couple of them, but it just seems easier to work on your rows, and it's only 3 less points. I almost always have 2, sometimes 3 rows down. Right. Versus if you work hard enough, I suppose if you have that as your main goal, you could probably
do it. I mean, it would take you at least 5 turns, and then it's dangerous though, because if you go into a 6th round and you have a color completely full, there's a good chance that you're going to get negative points that round. Right. Also on the back of these, we haven't played with these yet, but on the back of the board, it's blank, and you can create your own pattern.
It's basically like Sudoku rules, where you can't have the same color next to each other, and you can't have that same color in the row. You can have it in the column or row once.
Gotcha. Yeah, so
you build your own tile, whereas this one has a very nice, angle going down at angles, so everything is nice and happy and stuff. Whereas this one, you can do it however you want. However, if you're not planning ahead, you may end up getting to a spot where I can't place a tile in the spot because I've kind of screwed myself out of that area, so to speak.
But overall, I mean, we really like the game. Sagrada, it feels a lot like that game. It feels like a very relaxing game. Yeah,
I think it's the same concept as Sagrada. It's just a kind of different way of going about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a nice, easy-going game. There's still, the drafting aspect, which gives you your, competition and like, oh man, that guy took that. But in general, it's just kind of like a laid-back, easy-going game. You plan ahead, strategic kind of thing. So I would probably give this, a 6 out of 7? Amish?
That would be correct.
Amish.
I'm going to echo that. Like Froese said, it's a fun, light game. It's easy enough that your kids can play it with you. There's not a lot of super competitive nature.
No.
In drafting can be a little bit... I was going to take that, but I mean, you get that in any sort of game. But... you can put as much or as little strategy in the game and enjoy it.
Yes. And it's one of those games that seems real complicated in the beginning because the rule book reads in a very complicated way.
As it seems like most games do that
but
anymore.
Once you get going, like Charlie said, you can put as much or as little strategy into it as you want to and still have fun with it, I think.
Right. The only thing that is, especially the wording for scoring, was a little confusing. We ended up going to a video to see how it scores, because if you make basically a 2x2, so you have 3 spots in it, it's not worth 4 points. It's only worth 3.
Right.
So, but once you go through that first couple of rounds of scoring, you get some connections, and it's second nature at that point.
We appreciate you watching the video, guys. Go ahead and give us a like if you enjoyed it, and a thumbs up, and subscribe. And check out our social media accounts. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well.
That's right.
See you next time.
There's no Dana, only Azul.